So in this video, I'm gonna go over behavior modification, how it works with Mkultra and Monarch, and all the different types of behavior modification programs. So to understand behavior modification, we have to start with what conditioning is, behavioral conditioning. With classical conditioning, an outside trigger causes an involuntary response. So this means something on the outside of someone causes a response the person doesn't control. And with operant conditioning, a voluntary action, and I say voluntary loosely, gets a learned response. So something you do, you know it's going to have a certain effect or an outcome. And this has been studied for a long time, and a long time ago, people understood that this could be used on human beings as well. It works very well with children. It works very well with humans in general, but especially kids. And both are used in Mkultra, Monarch behavior modification programs, interchangeably, different things, different results. It's all intentional, purposeful, with a goal in mind. So depending on what the person programming wants to do, they use these are just the core principles of what behavior modification is. So for example, through torture, disassociation from the torture, or sexual abuse, or whatever it is, fracturing of the mind, which, I went over in more detail in another video on how Mkultra fracturing and the creation of alters happens. I would suggest watching that first. So, and I messed up there. That would be an auditory. An example would be, an auditory cue. With a dog, it's blowing the whistle. Eventually, when you give them food after a whistle every time, they're going to know, or they're going to salivate without thinking about it, because they've learned subconsciously that this auditory cue will bring food, so their body automatically will start salivating at the noise. It's positive and negative reinforcement. That would be a positive reinforcement. So it's positive reinforcement is rewards for expected or the desired outcome. Negative reinforcement would be, in this case, torture, sexual torture, abuse, as punishment for not doing that, what they want someone to do. Eventually, this all becomes automatic. There's no control. With operant, it's more of a voluntary. Again, I say that loosely, but the learned response is, I do this and I get candy or treats. I get this. I get a positive thing, which is useful for a telling alter, or telling on yourself or the truth. But they still will punish the others, or the other alters, or the other personalities, or what have you. So as I went into detail before, with fracturing, this creates splits of the whole mind. All these individuals, all these personalities are all parts of the same whole. So when they fracture someone, they can train those parts and bring them up front. So for example, with my father, or any programmer, they take you to a VHS store where in the CD VHS store in the back, they shoot child pornography. It's useful to them because then they can crawl up that front. Or a trigger, it can just be a visual cue, a hand signal, a word, a phrase, a sight, a sound, any of those things to bring up the desired personality that has been trained to do what they want that child to do, for whatever reason, whatever purpose, that they want. It's like, it's perfect for these people. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what happens. Why can't we say no? Why can't a child say no, right? And stand up for themselves if they do not do what is told to them or what is expected of them by these types of people. That equals a lot of pain, abuse, rape, torture, essentially things to break that child's will. And eventually they learn there is no hope, there is nowhere to go. But if they agree, if they say yes, which usually they don't want you to talk, they just want you to do it, you get positive reinforcement, whether that be less pain than you would get saying no, or a positive experience after it's over, if they're choosing to use positive reinforcement. And eventually, the kid will stop saying no and will always say yes, because those connections are made. And a lot of times with MKUltra, Monarch, and I'm not speaking for everyone on this, but there will be a sheet kept, or the programmer will have it either written down or memorized, but all the different triggers, the system structures, the system of all the different parts, the access codes, they, treat this like the child has a computer in their mind that they can access. They can create correlations that wouldn't exist in real life, like pain is good, rape is okay, whatever it may be. So in the mind, neural pathways are created, changed, moved around, whatever method, but neural pathways actually are creatable, changeable. Meditation is really good for rewiring neural pathways, but these people know how to use these methods to create associations and correlations in the brain, such as telling equals it's a good thing to tell on yourself. Disobeying equals pain. Being raped is my job, or, things like that, whatever they want. And these are all kind of subconscious. It's not something that is a thought. It's just an association that exists. And just like in dogs, and I know it seems silly to equate a child to a dog, but this is really how they see us, how they see people. So with a dog, that correlation that is created with training is, I potty outside, I get a treat. I see my food bowl, I'm going to get food. Things like that. Dogs don't have the thought, it just happens. So with these correlations, the neural pathways, the alters, this is kind of how I think about it. It's like in the back of your mind, the subconscious, there are these alters who have different jobs or positions or abilities. The possibilities are absolutely endless with all these neural pathways, and it's all working in the background like a computer. And then the front is the conscious. Whoever is in front is in front. And what MKUltra and Monarch are not commercials, movies, mean words, reactive abuse, insults, things I've seen people recently. It is not those things. And it benefits these men for many different reasons. But imagine you have a child that can do anything that you have trained them to do. and they have this system in place. And a father or man wants to sell this child to another group of men, or a man, or a group, or whatever it may be. All they would have to do is say, hey, here's the rap sheet for this kid. Go crazy. Give me this amount of money. Or do me this favor. Here you go. Because they see kids as objects, cattle, etc. And then the main question I get a lot is why? Why do they do this? Money, power, control, blackmail on each other. It's an endless amount of possibilities and reasons. Basically, if you have sexual blackmail on another person, think about like a powerful individual. You can literally do anything without fear. And all the people in powerful positions in the world know this. And it's a powerful weapon and a powerful asset to them. Psychopaths do not have that part of the brain that feels remorse or empathy. That's why child rapists and child sexual abusers are usually psychopaths. That part of their brain is small, missing, or damaged. It just doesn't work. So their enjoyment is in hurting others, and some can only feel any amount of excitement because they don't feel the same while hurting others. Like some serial killers have said, they get a rush that they can't feel in other ways because they don't function that way. The list is, but it's not only that, it's endless. It's an endless amount of reasons, not necessarily just because their brain doesn't work.